Okay, now we're recording. Hello everybody and welcome to PhoneDog Live. I understand that there are usually a few ads before the Ustream broadcast actually gets started, so I'm going to wait a couple seconds before I actually get on to our topics. But for you guys that are watching the recording of this on YouTube, welcome and thank you for watching. Just so everyone knows on YouTube, I think some people get confused. This is on YouTube. What you're watching is a recording of a live broadcast that we have on our Ustream channel every Friday at 5 p.m. And it's where we talk about, as you know, since you've been watching, mobile news, anything that's been in the news lately. We talk about it for about an hour, discuss it, have an open Q&A. So I didn't just record this of me talking to myself. Anyway, so everyone on Ustream that's watching the live broadcast of this, thank you for being here. We do have a couple of good topics. I'll also be on Facebook. If you're on Facebook watching, I'll also be there checking comments. If you're on Ustream, hello everybody. Is it working or is it not working? You can see me now. Okay, there was a little bit of a hiccup there. Okay, just let me know. I'll be checking the comments on Ustream, so just let me know if there's any problems. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, I'll be checking the comments there and I'll respond to some of them if there's any questions. But this week, we have a couple of interesting topics, and let me update our the topic at the top of the Ustream chat window. That way, you guys will know. This week, there's been a lot of stuff in the news this week about Apple, and so we are going to talk about Android news, towards the end of it. But first of all, I wanted to talk about the news that we've been hearing with Apple's cloud music streaming service. Google just released their Google Music beta service last week, and kind of a big hit. Still in the beta mode, so not really out in the open, not with all the services that they would like to offer. But now we're hearing about what Apple is going to offer with their cloud music streaming service. By the way, it's raining outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but if you can, it's rain. I know it kind of sucks. There was hail today too. It's kind of weird. So we're going to talk about that, their cloud music streaming service. We're also going to be talking about just a few news tidbits that we've heard about the iPhone 5/4S/4, whatever you want to call it. We got just a few notes on that, not too much. And then lastly, we've had tons of new Android releases and updates to release dates and all kinds of stuff. So we are going to be talking about Android phones towards the end of the broadcast, and then at the end of the last 15 minutes, we'll have an open Q&A where you can ask any question that you have. So for the time being, your comments on Ustream, and Facebook, try to keep them on topic with what we're talking about, and then any random question that you have, you can ask at the end of it. And again, let me know if it ever freezes or something doesn't work. So first of all, Apple. So we knew for a long time that they were going to be doing something with the cloud. I mean, that's kind of the trend these days. The ad interrupted. Okay, that's kind of the trend these days. Amazon, they released their music locker service. It's actually more of just an online service where you can store anything. It doesn't have to be music. But that was Amazon. And then Google, like I mentioned earlier, they released or announced their Google Music service, which is again is pretty much just a cloud, a music locker where you can store your music. Initially, we thought that Google was also going to offer the service of being able to actually purchase songs, but apparently they didn't complete all the deals that they needed to make with the music label execs. And so for the time being, Google Music is just a place where you can store your music in the cloud and then play it back. So now, there's been kind of this race to be the first company to market with the cloud service, because it's a big deal. So Amazon was first. Google, obviously wanted to beat Apple because that's a big deal. So Google beat Apple, but now we're hearing what Apple is going to do. And even though it seems like they're going to be last in the race, I don't know. I'm kind of the things that they're going to do with their service. I think is going to blow Google out of the water. So Anyway, we do know that Apple, unlike Google, was patient enough to wait long enough to actually make deals with the four major record label companies. By the way, can you guys hear the rain, or is that just me? Because if you can't, I don't know if that would be distracting, but it's kind of pouring outside. It's been raining all day. Anyway, you can hear it. Okay, well, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. Anyway, so Apple was patient enough to make deals with the record label companies, which has the obvious benefit of now Apple will be able to you'll be able to buy music with their cloud service. Basically, it'll be iTunes but taken to the cloud. Now, we know that they are finalizing these deals because CNET, they first reported that Apple had signed an agreement with Warner Music, and then this week they reported that Apple had signed an agreement with EMI Music, and now Bloomberg has reported that Apple has reached a similar deal with Sony. So the only one left over is Universal. The four major record label companies, the ones that matter, they've signed deals with three of them. The only one left is Universal, and we hear that they're close to a deal. After they sign these deals, they also have to make agreements with the publishers, but that's kind of a different story. So, what does this mean? Well, first of all, yeah, you will be able to buy music. Now it's thundering. It's all dark outside. It's really depressing. So you will be able to buy music with this cloud service. But not only that, it also means it also opens up an easier way to get your music actually onto the cloud. So now with Google Music, it's basically just a matter of copying or transferring every music file from your computer to the cloud. And if you read my review on Google Music, you know that this can take quite a while. I wrote an entire review on Google Music Beta, and you can read it on PhoneDog.com. But I went through the whole process. I only had like 64 songs because I usually don't use iTunes. I usually use like Slacker or Pandora Radio. So I only had like 64 songs to transfer from my computer to the cloud, and it took nearly an hour, which is a really long time for 60 songs. So if you have 1,000 songs or thousands of songs, it's going to take forever. I mean, literally a day or 2 days, depending on how much music you have. So, but Apple, because they were able to make these deals with the record label companies, it makes it a lot easier. Because instead of just uploading the files to the cloud, with Apple's service, it can just scan your hard drive, record a list of the songs that you own, and then simply match those files with the master recordings that they have on hand. And they got those master recordings because they made the deals with the record label company. So you don't even have to actually transfer the music. It just, sees, okay, you have this song, this song, this song, and then it matches that to the song that they already own. So it makes the process a whole lot easier for one thing, but also quicker, a lot quicker. It probably still will take some time, but it's definitely going to be a lot quicker. Now, there's another benefit to this, and this is from Apple Insider uncovered a patent application that Apple filed actually a while ago, back in November of 2009. And let me get that patent application up for you guys so you can see it. Patent. Okay, so here's the patent. And as you can see, this is a picture of just an iTunes window where you can sync your music. You can see that. But you can see from these two red circles, if you look at the one on the left, it says sync partial music. And so what this means is that Apple, usually whenever you stream from any service, whether it's Google Music or Slacker Radio, whenever it's streaming the music, it basically stores a piece of the beginning of the song locally. That way when the song starts playing, it can at least get a smooth start while it's loading the rest of it. Which can take some time. Whenever you skip to another song, it has to do the same thing. If you're using a playlist or a radio service where it chooses the song that it plays, you don't really notice it because it knows what song is coming next, so it can cache the beginning of every song since it already knows. But if you skip songs, or if you skip to a different playlist, or if you just skip around in your music selection, then you're going to notice that at the beginning of every song there's the delay, there's the pause. So Apple's solution to this, which is really pretty genius if you think about it, Apple's solution is to store the beginning of every song in your library, as well as parts of the song, locally on your device. So every song that you have in your library, instead of just whenever you want to play that song, instead of just, at that moment getting a piece of it, it'll just store a piece of every song in your library automatically on your hard drive. And so by doing this, the transition from song to song will be seamless. No matter how much you skip around, it'll be seamless. And there won't be any pauses while playing back a song. So, sometimes your connection, it may quickly cut in and out. So while you're streaming, there'll be a pause there. Well, by keeping bits of the song also locally, it'll cut down on that too. There probably won't be any of that, any delay, any pauses. So according to Apple, the transition from the locally stored portion and the streamed media could be seamless and invisible to the user. So basically, it would be like you have that song on your hard drive and you're not streaming it over a wireless connection. So that's what this patent application is talking about. The red circle on the left, sync partial music, you have the option to tell the system to take bits of the song and keep it locally. That way when it's streaming, it's smoother. As you can see on the circle on the right, you also have an option to set a minimal connection speed for whenever it's streaming. This also helps the system to determine exactly how much of a song needs to be stored rather than streamed. So, hopefully I explained that correctly, and let me know, guys, if it's confusing. But basically, it's genius. My main problems with Google Music, even though it was simple, it was easy, and it was effective, I still had some qualms about it. My main problems were that I have to transfer all of my music to the cloud. There's no option to just select some of my music or a certain playlist. I have to transfer all of it, and it takes forever because of the method that it uses. 2, music playback is sometimes choppy. I experience that a lot when using Google Music, and that you can experience that too with other streaming services. It's just choppy. And then 3, I can't buy music from Google Music, at least not for the time being. So those are my 3 problems, and Apple has pretty much solved those. You don't have to transfer all of your music. By caching snippets of the song, there will be no pauses. It'll be seamless transferring from song to song, and you can buy music straight from the cloud, and you don't even have to download it to your device. You can keep it in the cloud even after you've bought it. So, I'm not usually a fan of what Apple does, and we've talked about this in the broadcast. I've told you guys I'm not an Apple fangirl. I typically don't agree with Apple on a lot of things. But, you have to admit, this is really genius. And even though they're going to be the last ones to market with this product, their patience has really paid off. And so I'm pretty excited about it. It's not, here yet. We just do still have to wait for it. Which is the next question, when is this actually going to come out? The speculation is that Apple is going to debut this service at WWDC in June. It's their developer conference, which makes sense because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, we've heard that Apple is finalizing deals with the record label companies. Once they start making deals with the publishing companies, we've heard it won't be that big of a process, won't be too intense. So, they're really close to finalizing everything. 2, we've heard that this year's WWDC is going to focus more on software and not hardware, and so this would make sense because obviously it's software. So, I'm pretty excited about it, and I don't know if it's going to make me buy an iPod Touch or use iTunes. At the moment, I don't really use iTunes. I don't have an iPod Touch because I just don't like iOS. But this system, it just makes so much sense. I don't know, it kind of makes me want to buy one just so I can use it, but then at the same time, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. You guys, feel free to let me know what you think about it. I haven't been checking Facebook. iPhone 4. Okay, I'm going to talk about the iPhone 4, iPhone 5, whatever, in a minute. But that's Apple's streaming music service, and I think it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it. Like I said, we should see it at WWDC in June. And the other question is, how much is it going to cost? I mean, we're kind of expecting that there is going to be some price to this, you know, whether they're just going to keep the same, like, okay, you do still have to pay per song, or if they're going to charge for the amount of, you know, storage space you have. You know, we don't know about that either. Also, another benefit of this is that you can choose to keep, whenever you sync your music with iTunes, or sync your device with iTunes, you can choose to sync all of it to the cloud, or some of it to the cloud, or most of it to your device, or just some of it to your device. So you have that option to, you know, kind of keep it separated, which is nice. Again, like I said, you can't do that with Google Music. So, again, I'm checking the Ustream comments, and you guys are not on topic, just like last week. But that's okay. I'll just let you guys talk, and I'll just talk. You guys on YouTube, you'll be watching this, and you don't have to worry about the comments on Ustream. So that's Apple Music, and I think it's going to be great. And you know, we'll have to wait and see. Apple, not all of this may happen. You know, sometimes Apple files for patents, and they never do anything with it. So not all of that may actually come to fruition. But if it does, I think it's a great idea. So I did mention that we had some more news on the iPhone 5/iPhone 4S, and it's not too much, but there is a little bit. So like I said, we do know pretty sure that this year's WWDC is going to be more focused on software than on hardware, and which is different because usually that's where they debut the new iPhone in June, and then it, you know, goes on sale shortly thereafter. But apparently this year we're not going to see it there. So when are we going to see it? Well, DigiTimes is reporting that, and this is a quote from DigiTimes, they're reporting that production of iPhone 4S, which is apparently going to be the official name, the production of the iPhone 4S will begin in August, and the earliest launch may be in September, which coincides with every rumor that we've been hearing lately, that the next iPhone is going to come out in September. A few other news tidbits. DigiTimes also reports that the rear camera will be upgraded to 8 megapixels, which is going to be nice. You know, I think a lot of people agree that the iPhone has one of the best cameras on a cell phone, and you know, some people are saying, well, it's only 5 megapixels. You know, my phone has like an 8 megapixel camera, and you know, a lot of people say, well, it's not the megapixel count, it's the quality. But it's nice that Apple is still upping, you know, the megapixel count. So it is going to be an 8 megapixel camera, at least that's according to this report. This is pretty big. The iPhone 4S will not be an LTE device. Again, that's something that we've heard a little bit. And here's another report that it will not be an LTE device. So a little bit of a bummer. But DigiTimes, their sources say that Apple will delay the launch of an LTE-enabled iPhone until 2012. So next year's iPhone, which presumably will be called the iPhone 5, will be an LTE device. And the reason is basically the reason that we've thought all along. They said the implementation of LTE networks has not yet matured. So there was a lot of speculation that, you know, people figured that Apple wouldn't release a 4G iPhone for this very reason, that it just, you know, hadn't spread out enough, it wasn't implemented enough, at least not enough yet. So, and you know, basically we were right. So next year's iPhone will be a 4G phone, at least that's what they're planning on. This year's iPhone will not be a 4G phone, and, well, at least it won't be an LTE phone or device. And, again, this is more of a confirmation that's going to be coming out in September. So, those were just little things. Nothing really new. I think it's just, you know, the more we hear it, the more we kind of accept, like, oh, okay, that's true. Because the first time we hear a rumor, we're usually not too sure if it's true. but the more we hear about it, then it kind of becomes more confirmed. So I think this is pretty much confirmed that it is going to be, the next one is going to be the iPhone 4S, that it will have upgraded specs, you know, the 8 megapixel camera, a dual-core processor, but for the most part, just minor upgrades. But then the next big upgrade will be the iPhone 5 coming out next year. So, you guys, are you going to wait for the iPhone 5? If it is going to be an LTE device, do you think it's worth waiting for? Or are you just going to say, screw it, I'm getting the next iPhone no matter what it is? I think a lot of that depends on, you know, if you're a devout Apple, you know, fan, then yeah, you're probably going to get the next iPhone no matter what it does. But I mean, in terms of practicality, do you think you would get the next iPhone or would you wait for the 4G phone? I'll pick up a Galaxy S2. The Galaxy S2, that's going to give some iPhones some competition. I'm excited. I can't wait till we do that dogfight. I know Aaron's going to do it. I don't know when, but you know, eventually we're going to have. He might wait until the iPhone 4S comes out, but maybe not. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that dogfight, the Galaxy S2 versus the iPhone. That's going to be a good one. I'm getting the next iPhone no matter what. I'm waiting, got the Xperia Arc right now, and I don't see iOS winning me over just yet. I was zoned out while talking on Ustream. Okay. So, kind of mixed, some people getting it, some people don't. And like I said, I think it depends on if you do generally buy Apple products, if you're that kind of person, then more than likely you're going to get the next iPhone. If not, then you know you may wait for another Android phone or just the 4G iPhone. Which brings us to our next topic. Whenever I was tweeting about, you know, the topics for this week, and I was saying it's going to be iPhone 4 and iTunes Cloud and all this stuff, you know, people were like, could you talk about Android a little bit? So we are gonna. There have been there's been a lot of Android news this week, which there always is every week. But this week it's a little bit different because we have some updated release dates for some really popular Android devices. And we also had a couple of releases, the Droid X2. So let me get out my sheet. Okay, so here's a new release dates. This is what we have. The Evo 3D. If you've asked me, if you're one of the millions of people that asks me every day when the Evo 3D is coming out, our new rumored release date is June 4th, and this is according to a leaked Radio Shack email. And so, in the email it said it was a rough launch date of June 4th, so it could change, but at least we know sometime in June 4th. Sometime around June 4th. Over here equals Europe. Okay. Then we also have a new rumored date for the HTC Sensation, which is going to be a killer phone. T-Mobile's YouTube channel, I'm subscribed to them on YouTube, they released a video today. It was kind of a more intense overview of the Sensation, and it's like every time I just read the spec sheet for this phone, it's amazing, it's incredible. The new rumored release date for that is June 8th. So a lot of phones coming out in June. Those are the two major ones that we've known about for a long time, so now we finally have a release date for them. June 4th for the Evo 3D and June 8th for the HTC Sensation. Now, along with that, we have heard about a lot of new phones. We've heard rumors for a lot of new phones. Again, a lot of these coming out in June, and it's amazing that we're just now hearing about them. Usually you hear about a phone like 6 months before it comes out, but we're just now hearing about these phones, and they're coming out next month, so I don't know what happened there. So the first one, the HTC Bresson. This is actually not an Android phone, it's a Windows Phone 7 device, made by HTC, obviously, coming to T-Mobile, and supposedly it's going to have a 16 megapixel camera. Now, I want to see what you guys think about that, you guys on Ustream or on Facebook. 16 megapixel camera, is that practical? Does that matter? I mean, if you want a camera that's that good, wouldn't you just buy a digital camera? Because even if it's, no matter the megapixel count, the bottom line is that cell phone cameras just are not as good as actual handheld digital cameras. Even with video capture, more and more phones these days are capturing HD video. I think the Galaxy S2 actually captures full 1080p HD video, but even then, the quality is just not as good as an actual camera because it's on a cell phone. So, I don't know, let me see the comments. 60 megapixels is nothing without good software. Good point. HTC cameras are horrible, or good optics, yes. Would rather good software over a high megapixel count. Now a 60 megapixel Nokia. Nokia does make good cameras on their phones. They have good cameras. The megapixel race is on. The only use for a high pixel count is with a DSLR. Enough said. I would normally agree with you, but the camera on my Thunderbolt is pretty darn good. Some cameras on cell phones are really good. But I think they're really good compared to other cell phone cameras. I mean, still, if you compare it to an actual camera, it's just, you can't compare it. So, I don't know, this 16 megapixel camera, I don't know if I'm but people will probably buy it. The HP Veer was also released on AT&T. That's HP's new WebOS device. It's the really small one. I think I have a picture of it here so you guys can see the HP Veer. Yeah, here's the HP Veer, and it's tiny. It's like a little midget. I guess I shouldn't say midget. That's, some people would take offense to that. It's a little bitty phone. It has a 2.6-inch display. It does have a physical keyboard. You can't see it, but it's basically like the physical keyboard slides out, but it's a tiny 2.6-inch display. Decent specs, 800 megahertz Snapdragon processor, 5 megapixel camera that does capture video, but it's so tiny. I don't know, maybe a little niche there, only certain people would like that, but that was released on AT&T. Oh, it's also an HSPA Plus device, so that's cool, $99. And then the Droid X2 was released on Verizon. This one, it's not a whole lot of updates. I mean, physical design is basically exactly the same. I think the only difference is that there's no dedicated camera button, which I think is stupid. I mean, in terms of dedicated camera buttons, if you're going to do anything, you should add one, not take it away. I don't know why manufacturers do that. I mean, it's my favorite. Anyway, no physical camera button on the Droid X2, but other than that, the physical design is pretty much exactly the same. Here's a picture of the Droid X2. So you can see it just basically looks the same. Same display, 4.3 inch. It is a QHD display, so it's prettier, more vibrant. That 8 megapixel camera still captures HD video. As you can see, it ships with Moto Blur, which I hate Moto Blur. I can't stand it, but, to each his own. I don't have to get the Droid X, so if I don't like it, then, don't buy it. And then it also has a dual-core Tegra 2 processor. That's the biggest upgrade, is the dual-core processor. It's not a 4G phone, so, I don't know, it's kind of, yeah, it's an upgrade, but not really that big of an upgrade. I mean, I think if you had the original Droid X, pretty much the same phone, except for the processor and the display is going to be a little better. So, that was the Droid X2. It was just released on Verizon. Again, not a 4G phone, so disappointing. We also heard that the Droid 3 won't be a 4G phone. I don't know what's up with Motorola and not wanting to make the... I mean, these are their flagship phones. The Droid was like the first major Android phone. The Droid X was the first major high-end Android phone. And yet they're not making the follow-ups 4G. I don't know what's up with that. Here's the latest picture of the Droid X3, or the Droid 3, sorry. You can see still has a physical keyboard. The keyboard looks great. You can tell by the Android buttons on the display there. I'm guessing that it is going to ship with blur, so that's kind of disappointing. But it will have a 4-inch display, so that's a little bigger than the original. It's going to be a QHD display, 1 gigahertz dual-core processor, an 8 megapixel camera, as well as a front-facing camera. Again, not a 4G device, and we're hearing that could come in June. So that's the Droid 3. Next one that was kind of interesting, T-Mo News, which is our partner site that covers, obviously, T-Mobile news. They uncovered a couple of documents about a couple of phones. And one of them is being called the Gravity Touch 2, or the GT2. And I don't know if anyone else remembers this. No one else is pointing this out. But the original Gravity Touch was a feature phone. As you can see here, it's just a basic feature phone, has a physical keyboard, but it wasn't a smartphone. And actually, there were a couple of Gravities. T-Mobile had the original Gravity. I think they had the Gravity 2 and the Gravity 3, and then they had the Gravity Touch. So there were a couple of these, and they were all feature phones. And now, apparently, they decided to make it a smartphone. And so this is the rumored picture of the Gravity Touch 2, since the original Gravity Touch was a feature phone. So, uncovered again by T-Mo News. Couple of the specs: we have a 3.2-inch display, an 800 megahertz processor, 3 megapixel camera. Does still have that physical keyboard because all of the Gravity phones did, and it ships with Android 2.2. And you can see from this picture, apparently it will have Samsung's custom UI. So this is a mid-range Android device. Again, ships June 8th, so pretty much everything is coming out in June this year. But it's a mid-range Android device. And I think this is kind of along the same lines of the Sidekick, how it was a feature phone, and then they decided to upgrade it to a smartphone. They're kind of doing the same thing with the Gravity Touch, which I'm kind of surprised. I didn't know the Gravity was that popular, but I guess it was because they made a couple of them. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. My throat is getting a little scratchy. Sorry, guys. Someone on YouTube last week left a comment for this video when I uploaded the recording. They left a comment telling me to stop taking a drink. And I'm just like, I'm talking for an hour. My voice gets scratchy. It's inevitable. But anyway, so that's the Samsung Gravity Touch 2 coming to T-Mobile. June 8th is the rumored release date. Okay, and then one more that we have a picture of is the Samsung Exhibit. Here's the picture of the Samsung Exhibit. And when I first saw this, I thought it was a Nokia device because it looks like the N9, N8, but it's not. It's a Samsung device. This is being called the Exhibit 4G. It is coming to T-Mobile. As you can see, this was also uncovered by T-Mo News. It's going to be a 4G device, and it's going to be capable of 21 megabits per second. That HSPA plus technology. So, going to be super fast. A 1 gigahertz Hummingbird processor, 3 megapixel camera with an LED flash, and a front-facing camera. And as you can see from this unlock screen, again, it looks like it is going to ship with Samsung's custom user interface. So, this is interesting, because, and this may not actually be what the phone is like whenever it comes out, but it's going to have a 1 gigahertz Hummingbird processor, so pretty fast. It's going to be a 4G device, 21.1 megabits per second HSPA+, but the camera is only a 3 megapixel camera, so kind of like the Sidekick. It was like all high-end and awesome, and then the camera sucks, and so I don't know what's up with that, but that's the Samsung Exhibit coming to T-Mobile June 8th. Again, same release date as the Gravity Touch. So, yeah, a lot of stuff coming to well, those are a lot of T-Mobile releases, but they're all coming in June. So if you're waiting for a phone, I would wait until June because that's when all the high-end phones are coming out. And then we also heard a rumor about the Samsung Hercules, which I don't know if that's going to be the final name, but that's actually a pretty cool name, Samsung Hercules. This is going to be a blow you out of the water amazing phone. Some people are actually speculating that this may be the T-Mobile version of the Samsung Galaxy S2 because the specs are pretty much the same. But regardless, it's going to be an amazing phone, hence the name Hercules. Ships with Android 2.3, a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor. It's going to have 16 gigs of RAM, or 16 gigs of ROM, that would be amazing. 1 gig of RAM, a Super AMOLED Plus display, an 8 megapixel camera that can capture full 1080p HD video. And then, so that's a lot like the Galaxy S2, so that's why people are thinking this may just be the GS2 version, or the T-Mobile version of the GS2. But along with that, it's a 4G phone, and not only is it HSPA+, it's 42 megabits per second HSPA+, so super, super fast. Now, obviously, in real-world use, you're probably not going to get up to 42 megabits per second, but it's possible. So this is going to be a killer phone. Like I said, possibly the T-Mobile version of the Samsung Galaxy S2. Speaking of the Galaxy S2, we had some websites uncovered some of the names for each carrier version of the GS2. AT&T's version possibly is going to be called the Attain. The Verizon version is possibly going to be called the Function, which I don't really know if I like that. And the Sprint version is the worst. Supposedly going to be called the Within. Within, like something is within something. I think that is really dumb, but that's the Sprint version. The best one, I think, is the Hercules. If that's T-Mobile's version, dude, I would buy it just based on, Hercules. That Sensation, I thought was a great name because Sensation, it's sensational, and it ships with HTC Sense. Just Sense. It's everywhere. But Hercules might be better. So I'm excited about that, and we'll have to see if it is just the GS2 on T-Mobile. But those are the exciting Android news tidbits that we've been hearing about. I wanted to share them with you guys because, let you know. We report on all of this. If you want more details on any of these phones, you can go to PhoneDog.com, and we have actual articles and pages. But since you guys are here, I wanted to give you a little rundown of what's been happening in the Android world in terms of news. So, which phone are you guys most excited about? I think me personally, like I said, it would be the Hercules. I think that one's going to be awesome. At the same time, it's basically the same as the Galaxy S2, which I'm also most excited about. So, if it is the same phone. For me, it's the GS2. That's going to be my favorite phone, I think, of the year. The original Galaxy S was my favorite phone of the year, so... but which one are you guys most excited about? Xperia Arc Hercules is cool, but 4.5 might be too big. True. Evo 3D. Yeah, the Evo 3D is going to be... I think the Galaxy S2 and the Evo 3D are going to be the phones for the year, which is the way it was when the originals came out. The Evo and the Galaxy S were like the phones of the year. I think it's going to be the same thing this year. GS2, since I don't plan on swapping from Sprint, so it has to be the Within. I really like the Sensation, but I'm on Verizon. HTC Holiday. The Holiday also, I'll be talking about that in the open Q&A if you guys want to know about it. Just tell me to be quiet. I talk about my ARC way too much. That's okay. So, looks like GS2 and the Evo 3D. Let me see on Facebook. Which ones are you most excited about? Doesn't the Hercules have a 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm and not the Xenos? I'm not sure. That I don't think that was in the report, at least not the one that I read. Unless they want to call the next one Samsung Irritate. Possibly Samsung doesn't have the best reputation. I'm torn between the Sensation and the GS2. Really, between the Sensation and the Galaxy S2, you can't go wrong. And I know I'm going to get that question a million times. Which one should I get, the Sensation or the Galaxy S2? Basically, same phone, awesome. It's just, do you want TouchWiz or do you want HTC Sense? I think it's basically just going to come down to that. But those are the ones that I wanted to talk about. And so, there they are. But now it's your chance, guys. You can ask me. Now we're going to open it up to an open Q&A. Let me update the topic. I had like a high-pitched topic. Anyway, so open Q&A time. Any question that you have on any cell phone, any release dates, rumors, iPhone, Android, feature phones, Boost Mobile, whatever, you can ask me. Omega and Eternity running Windows Phone 7. I don't know if that's a question or if you wanted to know about those. Let me scroll all the way down. Okay. Sydney, did you see my tweet about the error and your top 5 Androids list? I vaguely recall something about that. Yeah, you were talking about the Inspire. How the Inspire isn't the Thunderbolt is the Desire HD. What I meant was that they're basically the same exact phone, just different carriers. So if you want the Thunderbolts, but you're not on Verizon, then the Inspire. Or is it the Inspire or is it the Infuse? I can't remember. But yeah, I think I did get your tweet. Okay. Nope, not a question. Out of topic. Is the world going to end tomorrow? I don't think so, but that's a personal thing, I guess. When is the Xperia Arc coming to the States? We don't have any news on that. I think, let me check. I think we were told that it was going to come to the States, but they didn't give us an exact date. Let me make sure I'm right about that. I don't have it. So yeah, we don't really have any dates right now. Why is there only a written review on the Arc out from the PhoneDog crew? The editor that got it, he doesn't usually do video reviews, and as was mentioned, since it's not a U.S. phone, we in the U.S., the guys, they're the ones that do video reviews, we couldn't actually do a review on it because, we wouldn't be able to actually test it out. So that was just a personal decision on his part. Do you ever get tired of reviewing feature phones when Aaron gets to play with all the nice phones? I do cell phone reviews, so whatever phone they send me, that's my job. I do a review on it. It's not a hobby. I enjoy doing it, but I mean, it's my job, so I do what they tell me to do. I think feature phone, people buy them all the time. I mean, obviously, or else they wouldn't be selling them, or they wouldn't be making them. So no, I don't mind. I mean, there's not a lot of reviews out there, so I pretty much get first crack at it, which is pretty cool. I do have a couple of reviews coming up if you guys want to know what I'm doing this week or next week. I'm working with the Casio Commando, which is a really rugged, it's an Android smartphone, and I was like, oh yeah, it's rugged, whatever, no one's going to buy it, but this is actually a really cool phone. If you travel a lot, Casio Commando, I'm pretty impressed with it. And then I also have the Sidekick. I'll be doing a dogfight with the Sidekick. I have the Epic. I think I'm going to do a dogfight with these two. So, because they're both like messaging phones with physical keyboards, and they're 4G phones. So I'm going to be doing that. Just if you want to know what I'm doing. Let me see. I missed a bunch of questions. I'm sorry. Let me go to the bottom. Yay, Epic! Is Verizon going to release more 4G phones? Yeah, I think, the Galaxy S, or the Galaxy S2, I think that's probably going to be a 4G phone. And then let me see if they have anything else. That's not a 4G phone. But I'm sure they will. The Motorola Targa, we've kind of heard about that off and on. That was supposed to be a 4G phone. The LG Revolution, that's going to be a 4G phone. So they do have some 4G phones coming. Sony Ericsson has stated that they want to be #1 in the world of Android, but is it smart of them to release their phones so many months later on the US market? That's something that they'll have to learn. It's the same thing with HTC. For a long time, all the great phones would be in Europe first, and in the US we'd have to wait like 3 or 4 or 6 months to get them. And then HTC and Samsung like finally caught on, and they started releasing them either at the same time or like a month apart. So Sony Ericsson is just, I think eventually they'll learn that and they'll fix it. Sydney, can't remember what phone you have now, but are you considering buying any of these new super phones? I don't know if I will. I mean, if I would, it would be the Galaxy S2. But even then, to me, I think the phone is awesome and well worth the money, but just not something that I really need. Like, I would do fine with a single-core processor as long as I can check my email and do web browsing. 4G is nice because it's faster. But, no, I don't really get into all the hype of buying a new phone every 6 months. I mean, I review phones, but money is money, so, I can't afford to buy a new phone every 6 months. When's the Motorola Click 2 getting an update? Let me see. Do I have that? Click 2. I don't have any news on that. Sorry. Why is Verizon still releasing 3G phones? I don't know. Cost, they are currently beta testing Click to update. Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know why I don't have that in my notes. Yeah, they are. They're currently testing a Click to update, and they're asking for volunteers to help them test it out. So you can volunteer to get the update on your phone and, you know, let them know if it works or not. Battery, Sydney, when will the Galaxy S2 come out? Let me see. Galaxy S2 release dates. The release date is probably going to be different for every carrier. So I don't know if we have an actual... Yeah, we've heard... Yeah, we don't really have any... The last we heard was that Verizon could be getting it in April, but obviously that didn't happen. So we don't have any release dates for the US version of the Galaxy S2. I spend way too much time reading about phones. Oh yes, there is Joseph. Remember that Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Why do you think of Microsoft? What do you think of Microsoft buying Skype? You know, there was a lot of hoopla about that when they bought Skype, but it's not really that big of a deal. I mean, for, you know, basically, the service is going to stay the same. Skype is going to be Skype. Nothing is going to change whether you own a Mac or a Windows PC. I'm assuming that Microsoft will use this, will implement this in their Windows Phone 7 operating system, but really it's, you know, business as usual, I think. A lot of comments. Samsung Impression. The Impression is a great messaging phone. I think AT&T has better messaging phones like the Pantech Laser, but it was one of the best when it came out. Okay, on Facebook there's a question, actually from 5 minutes ago, I'm sorry I missed it. Any new HTC holiday news? Let me see, what do we know about the HTC holiday? 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor, 1 gig of RAM, 4.5-inch QHD display, and an 8-megapixel camera. And that's all we know for now about the HTC holiday. What does Apple need to include in iOS 5 to compete with Android? Better notification system and multitasking. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it doesn't have to be both, but one or the other. Both would obviously be the best, but I don't see Apple doing that. But definitely a better notification system or multitasking. They have to do that. I mean, they're so far behind. They can't make excuses anymore. The technology is there. They just refuse to do it. So I think they're going to. I think iOS 5 is going to have something huge. But, you know, again, it could be the same old thing. We'll just have to wait and see. Oh, man, she skipped me again. Okay, what'd you say? Yes, good piece of advice. Okay, Gandhi quote was in reference to my comment, money is money, truer words have ever been spoken. Thank you. It's very buggy, though. Any news on Nokia's Windows Phone 7 phones? No. What was the code name of that 1.5 gigahertz dual-core HTC Superphone? There have been a lot of that, so that's going to be over there. Sorry, I actually will grab this window. 1.5 gigahertz. The HTC Eternity, is that the one you're thinking of? That's going to be a Windows Phone 7 device. 1.5 gigahertz processor, a 4.7-inch AMOLED display. Is that the one you're thinking of, the Eternity? Joseph, those are listed above, and they are Windows Phone 7 phones. I want to get a phone for my mom's birthday, and she wants a physical keyboard and Android. Help, please. Nikki, give me a carrier, and then I'll suggest a phone. All right, Sydney, I need to go. Thanks for streaming. Thanks for being here, Flo. Real multitasking isn't that big of a deal. They have APIs that do a pretty good job of emulating multitasking. Yeah, but getting a feature by jailbreaking your phone and voiding its warranty and going against what Apple wants you to do is not the same as just a feature. Apple, they need to do that. I mean, yeah, you could, you know, do all kinds of weird stuff with your phone to force it to multitask, but I mean, the average person doesn't know how to do that, so... Omega and Eternity, I think widgets are much more important for iOS to compete with Android. I would be shocked if iOS 5 had widgets, because widgets is like one of the things that Android is known for. I mean, like visually. You know, one of the ways that you differentiate your phones is widgets, an Android phone widgets. So I would be really surprised if Apple did that. For AT&T, okay, you want an Android phone with a QWERTY keyboard for AT&T. Let me head over and check out their lineup really quick, just so I make sure I give you a good suggestion. What is your husband's job, and what does he think about your job? He thinks my job is awesome, I guess. What's your personal phone? My favorite carrier? I think T-Mobile, because they have great customer service, they have pretty good prices, and they've done a really good job with their 4G network. I'm impressed with that. So I don't mean by jailbreaking, I mean that they have fast app switching and save states and background completion and such in the stock unjailbroken version of iOS. Okay, yeah, widgets for iOS would be great. I can't live without my calendar widget and weather on one page. Cell phones and devices. Smartphones. Start. I'm trying to find a phone for Nikki, so if you guys are leaving comments, I can't see them. Full keyboard and Android. Okay, so let's see what they've got. No. Okay. Well, an Android phone on AT&T, Nikki, this is for you, that has a keyboard. The only two options are the flip out and the flip side, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend either one of those. The flip side, yeah, would be the better option between the two, but I mean, Moto Blur, a lot of people hate it. That's the UI that it ships with, and it's just not a great phone. So those are the only ones with a physical keyboard, which means you're going to have to go with something else, in which case you might as well just pick the best Android phone on AT&T. Even though it's not going to have a physical keyboard, I just don't think it'd be worth it, because those phones just, you know, aren't very good. For AT&T, I'd say probably the Inspire or the Infuse. I would check those out. Will Aaron do a dogfight for the Galaxy S2 versus iPhone versus Infuse? We usually don't do 3 phones anymore. We used to do that, but we stopped doing it because it was just too much. I'm sure he will do the Galaxy S2 versus the iPhone. Okay, thanks, but she likes Motorola. So, okay, so if she does like Motorola, I would say the flip side. Swap from AT&T to Sprint and get an Epic, or you could do that. Launcher Pro, use voice to text, no need for a physical keyboard. Isn't Sony Japanese? That was random. Okay, here's a question from Facebook. Oh, here's a couple of questions. Okay, appreciate you taking the time to answer all of our questions. See you next time. Thanks for coming, Omar. Okay, I missed a bunch. Sid, you think the new iPhone would sell more with a bigger display? No, I don't. I mean, I think they will have a bigger display, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, the iPhone is so massively popular, I don't think it's necessary. Do you think AT&T will bring back unlimited data? I doubt it. If the merger goes through, then maybe. Okay, back to Ustream. What time is it? 4:53. We have 7 minutes, so I'll try to answer as many questions as I can in that time. Yes, but Ericsson is Swedish. It's half and half, again with the out-of-context comments. Physical keyboard is for more than just texting. I actually prefer a physical keyboard. I love phones with physical keyboards. The only thing is, you know, if, like AT&T, they don't have a really good selection of phones with physical keyboards, so I would just get the best phone, even if it doesn't have a physical keyboard, because I can use a virtual keyboard and I can get used to it, but it's just, I like having a physical keyboard. People who want an iPhone would buy it if it had no screen. Have you got your hands on a Veer? No. Sydney has a knack for reading comments just far enough out of context to be hilarious. I do, yeah, because there'll be a lot, and then I'll just skip to the shortest one, and usually the shortest one is the one that's most off topic. I hate that AT&T is putting data caps on everything, including home internet. Smiley face. You're not drinking water, but Sprite. Yeah, my husband bought me lunch today because he'd had off work today, so he was out and about, and I was like, I'm hungry, so he bought me Subway and got me a Sprite, so I was drinking it. Thanks for all of the help. You're welcome. The Xperia Pro will have a great keyboard. Not talking about the mini variant. People can wait and really recommend them to do so. True, the Xperia Pro, it's going to have a tiny screen, so take that into consideration. He's dehydrating you. Yeah, soda is not the best for rehydration, but it's what I had. I did have a bottle of water earlier, so I had that. Okay, let me check Facebook again. It always takes a minute for Facebook to reload. Okay, no new questions on Facebook. I usually really don't like QWERTYs, but I do like the look of that Droid 3 keyboard. Yeah, the Droid 3 keyboard does look good. I know you weren't talking to me, Joseph, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Yeah, the Droid 3 keyboard looks good. The original Droid's keyboard was horrible, like one of the worst ever. The Droid 2 was better, and the Droid 3 looks pretty good, so I'm excited about that. My favorite keyboard ever was, and I've said this before, the MyTouch 3G Slide. Not the best phone ever, but the keyboard was amazing. And now that I've been using the Epic, which I've used before, but it's been a while, but now that I've been using that, I really like this keyboard too. It's a little bit too wide for me because my hands are small. But I do like it. The Sidekick, its physical keyboard is, I don't know, it's okay. I like that they're all rubbery. I like keyboards that have a rubber texture. I don't like the ones that are plastic because those, my fingers slide around too much. And then it has a dedicated row for everything, dedicated number row, but the space bar isn't in a row of letters, so I think that's really nice. But anyway, I haven't decided which one is best yet, but I will. I'll have the dogfight up next week sometime. Ooh, I missed a lot of questions. Oh, the Xperia Pro. Okay, I see what you mean. Is a WebOS device planned for Sprint? Probably the Pre 3. Yeah, BCB brought that up. Probably the Pre 3. I'm guessing will come to Sprint. I thought the Pre 3 was GSM. Yeah, I think for the time being, let me see what we have on that. We were all assuming that the Pre 3 would go to Sprint because the original Pre was on Sprint originally, so we just thought Sprint would have first crack at it. But, see, the Pre 3 is going to be an HSPA Plus device, so it is going to be GSM. We don't know if it's going to be T-Mobile or AT&T, but it's also going to be an EVGO Rev A phone, so that's CDMA, so it could be Sprint or Verizon. I hear a big thunder roll coming on. There it is. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The best physical keyboard on a phone that I've ever personally used is the Touch Pro 2. A lot of people say that, and I had the Touch Pro 2 to review. I didn't do a video review on it. Actually, fun fact, the Touch Pro 2 was whenever I first started with PhoneDog, and I was actually doing some audition videos for them to see if they actually wanted to hire me. The Touch Pro 2, I did a review on that as my audition video. So it's not public, but I did that review. Anyway, that keyboard was really popular. I hated it. I don't know what, everyone loved it. I hated it. That was just me, though. I wish it was on Verizon when it comes out. Fully agree. Who else was disappointed that that rumored keyboardless WebOS phone is now rumored to be a low-end device? That's the phone I had before the Epic. Me. My HTC Inspire got stolen, so now I have an LG Prime. Sydney, how many phones do you have within arm's reach? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have 5, 6, 7, 8, probably about 12. 8, 9, 10, yeah, maybe like 10 to 12. Great question. I think HP should make a sideways slider 4-inch display phone. Possibly. Excuse me, OMG 12. Well, they're, like, you think it's cool having all these phones, but I can't actually use them as my personal phone, so unless I'm doing a review. But once I finish the review, like I can't.
It's 5 o'clock.
Oh, it's 5 o'clock. My computer just told me it's 5 o'clock. But anyway, I can't like abuse the privilege and just use it all day, every day. But anyway, it's still pretty cool. But anyway, it is 5 o'clock. You heard my computer, so that means that this week's PhoneDog Live is over. I'm sorry I missed your question. But you can come back next week, and we're going to do the same thing, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have some new topics. If you missed any of this, I did record it, and I will be uploading it to our YouTube channel, so you can check that out. I'll also be posting a recap blog post on PhoneDog.com that should be up today or tomorrow, so you can check that out. But anyway, thank you guys for coming. Thanks for the hearts. That's nice. I like that. But I'll see you guys later. And I think that's it. Bye.